The stage is set. The world watches as Donald Trump, the man who turns diplomacy into theater and trade into weapon, makes his move in South Asia. In a single day, he slapped India with 25% tariffs and then, in a dramatic twist, embraced Pakistan with a shiny new oil deal. This is classic Trump. Shock first, negotiate later, and keep the world guessing. On 30th July, yesterday, Trump announced on Truth Social that Indian imports would face 25% tariffs starting 1st of August. It was not just a trade move, it was a political performance. He framed India as a country with some of the highest tariffs in the world and teased that New Delhi was, and I quote, willing to cut them very substantially. And it landed with just the perfect timing. A day earlier, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, speaking in the Indian Parliament, had bluntly dismissed Trump's repeated claims of brokering a ceasefire between India and Pakistan after the brutal Pahalgam attack that triggered Operation Sindoor. No world leader asked us to stop, Modi declared. He went on to say that India acted on its own terms. The next morning, Trump's tariff threat felt like a personal rebuke wrapped in an economic assault. With just one announcement, he merged ego, economics, and geopolitics. Now, walking the tightrope, New Delhi's immediate response was measured but watchful. There were no fiery counter threats, no retaliatory tariffs, but India's Ministry of Commerce issued a statement noting that they are studying the implications of Trump's announcement and remain committed to a fair, balanced, and mutually beneficial trade agreement. Now, let us go back a few months in the past. In April this year, US President Donald Trump announced a 10% global tariff on all imports, followed by a sharp escalation in tensions with India through a 26% reciprocal tariff on Indian goods. India responded to this sudden imposition on its goods by analyzing the impact and emphasizing that it was not a setback while continuing negotiations to secure tariff concessions. By mid-June, significant progress had been made, particularly on industrial goods and select agricultural products. While India firmly refuses US demands to open its dairy, wheat, and corn sectors, it offered deeper tariff cuts on high-value US agrarian exports like nuts, along with a few improvements in customs, digital trade facilitation, and non-tariff barrier reductions. The restrained response reflects India's dual imperatives, the first being avoiding a trade war with the US. There is no denying that the US is one of India's largest trading partners, with total goods trades reaching almost $130 billion in 2024. Now, the US exported goods worth $41.8 billion to India in the same year, while US goods imports from India totaled to $87.4 billion. Now, it is important to keep in mind that India has generally enjoyed a trade surplus in goods with the US, meaning it exports more goods to the US than the US exports back to India. Now, US shares a trade deficit with India of $45.7 billion as of financial year of 24-25. This deficit has only increased up from $35.3 billion in 23-24 and $27.7 billion back in 22-23. Hence, an escalation could hurt sectors like pharmaceuticals, IT services, and textiles, which heavily rely on the US market for India. Now, secondly, maintaining strategic autonomy is important to India. India has deep energy and defense ties with Russia, and New Delhi is unlikely to abandon them entirely despite US pressure. Any hasty concession under tariff threats could erode India's long-held non-alignment posture. Just as India digested this tariff shock, Trump unveiled his second act, a partnership with Pakistan to develop its so-called massive oil reserves. He went further with a jab clearly aimed at New Delhi. Who knows, maybe they'll be selling oil to India someday. This announcement sparked both excitement in Islamabad and skepticism everywhere else. Despite Trump's big talk, Pakistan is not sitting on huge oil reserves. According to official data, the country had about 353 million barrels of proven oil as of 2016, which puts it 52nd in the world and makes up just a tiny fraction, around 0.021% of global reserves. Pakistan uses a lot more oil than it produces. The country consumes around 556,000 barrels a day but only produces around 88,000. That means it has to import about 85% of its oil. If Pakistan had to rely only on its own reserves, it would run out in less than 2 years. In short, Pakistan's oil reserves are relatively small, its production is low, and past drilling efforts have not turned up anything major. So is this real energy diplomacy or just a political theatre? For Pakistan, the optics are everything. After years of economic crisis, IMF bailouts and overdependence on China, being seen at the White House again, especially with Army Chief Asim Munir lunching with Trump, is a revival of old patterns. As the old Pakistani adage goes, the nation survives on Allah, Army and America. For India, the lesson is clear: stay calm, stay strategic, and don't get pulled into these theatrics. Trump plays the double game, seeking to extract concessions from both sides while projecting the image of a global dealmaker. In the end, Trump's South Asia policy is less about oil or tariffs than it is about power projection through spectacle. That is all from us today. This is Garima and you are watching the Asian Chronicle.